Hey, I'm Victor Lucas. Welcome to Film Fury. My buddy Johnny Millennium couldn't join me for Paul Thomas Anderson's brand new one. It's called Phantom Thread. And yes, it's a brand new movie from celebrated filmmaker Paul Thomas Anderson, who brought us movies like Magnolia. He brought us The Master, There Will Be Blood. And this is also famously Daniel Day-Lewis in his last performance as an actor. He says he's retiring from acting after this movie. And so there is a lot of buzz and there's a lot of hype for this, coming together of two ferocious talents who have worked together before. There Will Be Blood is probably, I think, Paul Thomas Anderson's strongest, most assured work that he's crafted so far. And I guess I'm spoiling this a little bit. I thought Phantom Thread was exquisite, which is a term used actually in the movie. It's about a celebrated dressmaker named Reynolds Woodcock, played by Daniel Day-Lewis. And what he does is he works with the rich and famous and the celebrities and the royalty that surrounds British life in the 1950s. This is an opulent era, post-war London, as it's kind of on the rebound and building up its elegance again. And Reynolds Woodcock is chief among those celebrated within the artistic and creative community there. He's at the top of his game. He's a very particular gentleman, and he's got a lot of really crazy kind of rituals that sort of help manifest all of his creativity. And he's a little fussy, to put it mildly. He lives with his sister, then his sister is equally controlling and sort of the business manager in this kind of twisted relationship. But of course, what happens in every Paul Thomas Anderson movie is there's some kind of event that shakes everything up, which usually leads to some kind of either violent brutality or an emotional brutality, some kind of awakening, some kind of reality that gets completely shifted. And that is absolutely the case here. I think that reality shift is personified by Alma, which is this waitress that Reynolds Woodcock runs into as he's on a trip to the country in his beautiful 1950s sporty British car that he's driving up to his estate out in the country. He goes for this breakfast and orders an extraordinary amount of food. Of course, he's so exquisitely tailored and so put together that he stands out in this restaurant, and needless to say, Alma and Reynolds meet, and he invites her out for dinner, and then they start this years-long love affair, which at first seems idyllic and incredibly romantic, but then you can kind of see that the fastidiousness, the sort of the cranky, twisted kind of rituals that Woodcock kind of has in his life start to really grate on Alma's nerves, and she's wondering why he can't just be a regular human being. Why can't he just, be in this relationship and have some normalcy and have some spontaneity? And so she challenges him, and it is that really fantastic human sort of back and forth that makes this movie riveting, and everything looks like perfection, just the way Reynolds Woodcock has kind of sketched it all out on his perfect little notepad there. And Alma comes in and shakes it all up and twists everything. She's super noisy at breakfast. I know he doesn't like any noise at breakfast. He's a weird dude. And all of these decisions that he's constantly making for rigidity and discipline and structure, and she wants to shake it up because she's a young, vibrant woman with her whole life ahead of her. And this is a guy that has been doing this for a long time. He's served all kinds of royals and wealthy people, and he's dressed the well-to-do in London, and he's an elitist. And it's fascinating to see, but I felt like I was on this more cerebral tour with Paul Thomas Anderson, and I think where he really excels, he's always an intelligent filmmaker. He always makes you kind of recognize the craft and the artistry. He's a perfectionist with the way that he puts his camera into scenes and the way that he colors the backgrounds and frames our actors. I mean, he's gotten fantastic performances from everybody, including Tom Cruise in Magnolia, which I think is probably one of his strongest pieces of work that he's ever put on film. He made Adam Sandler a great actor in Punch Drunk Love. This is an incredible director. But what makes those movies particularly memorable for me is the emotional weight, the center, the humanity that pours through the brutality that we see on screen. And we do see some, real love and real humanity here, but it just feels so calculated. Almost like a Woodcock designed dress, which I guess is kind of a parable. I think that Thomas Anderson as a filmmaker is kind of trying to craft a mirror image of his figure, you know, his prominent figure in the film, in his work, because it is so exquisite, as one of the actresses says about Woodcock's dress in there. The movie it's sumptuous, it's gorgeous. There's jazz permeating through all of these beautiful shots of London and this gorgeous house that they shot, and everything's shot on location, and it looks it, you know. I mean, there is not a hair out of place. It's just framed so elegantly, and it's so lush, and it makes you want to escape into that era. But I guess the fantasy of that era, because as we can see, it's not as pretty as you think it is when you sort of get right down to it. And there is a kind of a darkness and a twisted quality to all of this, which is, you know, frankly, the playing field that Paul Thomas Anderson is always in. I don't think this is his strongest work. I also don't think that Daniel Day-Lewis is delivering his strongest work. I mean, this guy, he's incredibly memorable and so talented in so many diverse roles throughout his career. This is a good one to go out on. It seems like a safe bet for Daniel Day-Lewis, and I think Daniel Day-Lewis fans are going to dig this movie, and I think they're going to like Phantom Thread as well. I guess I wanted a little bit more. The person that I was really impressed with was Vicky Krieps, who plays Alma. She has to go toe-to-toe with this journeyman actor, this you know, consummate professional in Daniel Day-Lewis, and she really does challenge him, and she really does put up with his eccentricities and, you know, his foibles and his ferocity. I thought that was really, really solid work. And Leslie Manville, who plays Cyril, Daniel Day-Lewis's sister in this, is also fantastic as well. She's incredibly powerful and strong. You know, and likely Paul Thomas Anderson and Daniel Day-Lewis working together brought out the best in everybody on that set. It does look like clockwork. It does, you know, the 2 hours and 10-minute runtime does run by quickly because it is so sumptuous and it is such a unique kind of angle on this world. I wanted to feel more. I wanted to be out of my head more, and I wanted to care about these characters a little bit more than I did. I still think that this is a movie to see for sure, particularly for fans of either this actor or this director, and I think you will be impressed, but I don't think it's the best work from either of them. I'm going to give Phantom Thread an 8.5 out of 10.